I am very excited to be here with Mary Platt. She's the Director of Sales at Chase Creative. And Chase Creative is an audiovisual company that's spread across Michigan, offices on the west side and the east side and in Lansing. And I've known her and the company for several years, and they are in the world of event production, audiovisual production. And as you all know, events are going virtual. And we've had many conversations around that, Mary and I, the last few months. And one of the things that we've talked about is we've noticed that a lot of organizations that normally are used to running events, they're now trying to figure, okay, now I can't have this event. I need to go virtual. How do I physically do that? And it's one of those scenarios where a lot of people just end up kind of trying to DIY it, right? Just the same way they are doing things around their home or their yard or whatever, right? They're DIYing things. So they're trying to figure out the virtual platform to use and then production of videos and all this stuff. And what I figured out was that it was just easy to reach out to Mary because she can speak to a lot of details around what some of the best practices are and some of the things just to avoid as we've talked through this over the past few months. I know the conversations have been, we thought it would be a short amount of time and it's turned into a lot longer amount of time. And so one of the first things that we've talked about is, and Mary, I want you to speak to this, is the world of event production. When people want to have a live event with attendees that are there, talk to me about the value of having someone like a Chase Creative or at least a live production person, right? I always use the example of, even at a Detroit Lions football game, there might be 100 cameras and 50 camera operators and some are remote, but there's still one guy out in the truck that he has to make the call of camera 27, camera 24, zoom in camera 16, and actually make the show good. And so I want you to speak to, like, why is that such an important thing, especially at a live event that folks are so used to kind of just having folks show up to the front door and get a name badge and go sit down. But now it's so much more important from a technical perspective to have somebody kind of running the show. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah. And it's really funny too, because as you mentioned, like a Lions game, like a live event, you would call an event production company, right? So with virtual events, it shouldn't really be different. Obviously people know that they can use Zoom, they know they can use Google, they can use a host of services that are right accessible on their laptop, and some of them are free, and they think that, great, I can do this, I've got it, I'm gonna do this on my own, and they're off and running. And if they trip and fall, then they realize, oh, maybe this isn't the way to do it. So again, just like a live event, you come to somebody that you trust, somebody that you know that is producing events, whether they're live or virtual, and put the responsibility and the hard work on them, which is what we're here for. So we've been researching the platforms to use for virtual events so that you don't have to. We've got the professional equipment so that you don't have to buy your own. And that's the kind of thing that we want people to know they can come to us for. So again, just like your live events, we're the professionals here that do this every day. Our staff are skilled in the video, the audio, the streaming services, much more so than probably somebody who's just picked up their Zoom account at home.
Sure. Talk to me, because I think people are scared when it comes to like budgets, because they're like, oh my gosh, this has got to cost $1 million to do it, right? And again, like you said, some things are free, right? You can use a free Zoom account or a free Google account, and most people who are hosting events, they're thinking of how this is going to work because they're used to having big top tier sponsors that are kind of paying for the event. People are out selling tables, right? Tables of 8 or 10 for X amount of dollars, and so groups are able to raise money to pay for all the details of what a live production looks like. It's different now with virtual. So talk to me about, people are scared, like, is this going to cost a lot of money? Talk through that a little bit in comparison to kind of the live event production you've been doing now in a virtual way.
Yeah. So it's funny, the irony of doing the virtual event is that your budget is potentially smaller because you're not selling those tables at your fundraising event. So your budget's smaller, but the thing is the budget for the virtual event is also, or the cost for the virtual event is also less. You're not setting up a huge lighting rig with flown projectors or speakers or lights. You're not setting up these huge projection screens. You're not filling a ballroom with a sound system. You can do a small, I've been calling it like a TV studio in quotes. You can do a small TV studio type of setup. We set up a little studio in our warehouse for one of our events. I mean, our warehouse is free because it's ours. We can set up just this small little set with a camera, a couple lights, and the person speaking is wearing one microphone. There's no sound system. There's no huge lighting or projection rig. So honestly, consistently, the virtual events have been less expensive, which then works in your favor as the meeting planner that could be worried about, a lower revenue for their fundraising event.
Sure. So it helps them save some money because they went from a $50,000 stage or whatever with projection and speakers to, a couple $1,000s to just kind of run the show and have someone like you guys who are the experts, making their life easy.
Right. Exactly.
Interesting. So talk to me about, like, are you recommending that clients do everything pre-recorded and kind of just play it during the virtual event? Are you suggesting, hey, let's do everything live and just kind of go during the virtual event, or are you doing a combination of both?
So it's really interesting because clients have had their own feelings about that, which they bring to the table. And of course, we're open to listening to that. And it's funny how it varies from person to person. So we started out, one of our first virtual events was 100% pre-recorded. And they liked that because everything was essentially controlled. Everything was already spoken and edited and cut so that the timing was right. If somebody misspoke in their video, then obviously that we could reshoot it. So everything was smooth and right on point. And then we've had other clients then say, oh, well, I don't want to do pre-recorded because it looks canned and there's a different feel. You can tell when somebody's not live speaking on a camera and it's like they're reading from a script in a sense. So it's gone back and forth. But again, what we're seeing now as things have sort of evened out, what we're seeing most often is that people are doing a little bit of both. So maybe you've got an awardee that you want to highlight. So you've got a little bit of a video about your awardee. And before that, somebody live in our studio introduces the video or introduces the awardee, video's played, comes back to the live studio setup. And so there's a little bit of that back and forth. The nice thing about that is you get the live feel. You do get some of that pre-recorded control. And people like switching formats. It keeps the audience more engaged. So, that's kind of what we've been seeing, my opinion, I guess, but also what people have been telling, giving us feedback on is that they like that style, and I recommend it.
Yeah. It's been interesting to see because a lot of folks, they went all pre-recorded and then they went all live, and now it's kind of been a mixture of both. That's what we've been seeing as well. Talk through like the secrets of, at least in my opinion, the secrets of making it easy for clients when it comes to things like, audience size and how big of a stream you need, right? Like the idea of like, okay, if we're pumping this out to 100,000 people, that's different than sending it to 100 people, in terms of audience size, and then registrations and tracking and follow-up and all that stuff. Like, is that part of the thing that you and your team are able to provide to an end user that's trying to plan a virtual event?
Yes, and again, that goes back to your earlier question of why you come to us instead of DIYing it, because we've researched those packages. So I've got a list of questions that boom, 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 go down the list so that my team can figure out what the best service is going to be for you, and it is audience size. What features do you want? Do you want chat, Q&A, polling, registration, exhibits, breakout rooms, just to name a few. But so it's, again, it's something like that. Like, you tell me what you want to do with your event, and then I can help make the best decision on what fits for that event.
Yeah, because I know this conversation originally started because I said that I've been having conversations with people. I mean, I'm not a live event production person, but I do enough live events where people come to me and say, hey, we're thinking about doing this. What tips do you have? And I'm like, my tips are, a few simple things, but hire a professional to make it easy for you, because the whole idea is that, when someone meets someone like you, you're able to make life easy in all the other aspects. And I wanted this conversation to happen because you're based here in Michigan, right? I know you travel for clients, but I realize that there's events going on in Denver and Fargo, North Dakota, and in New York and in California that you guys aren't not going to service, but maybe this video will help encourage someone who's super stressed out about putting together a virtual event in a hurry, and that you're able to give them some specific things to think through. What is it that what would you say to that person that's out in, say they're out in Vegas right now and they're like, oh man, we're supposed to do this live event we're supposed to have is now going to go virtual because of all the stuff going on with COVID-19. What would you say to them in terms of reaching out to find maybe a local person, to make their life easier? How would they go about doing that?
I mean, like I said, I've got a list of questions, which I'm happy to share as sort of a template for figuring out what's going to be the right move for you. But AV production companies have all, to use the term of 2020, pivoted. So, if you know somebody who can get a referral for a local AV production company, most of us have embraced this new technology. And like I said, we're doing the research, we're getting the experts, we're getting our team trained up on this sort of thing. So wherever you are in the world, there's going to be somebody in your city that I think has taken this on and can help you through it. And, let my team take that stress off of you so that you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's folks in the event world, they're there to help people get together and gather, and it's still getting together and gathering, just in a different way, right? But it's just a matter of allowing the experts to do what they're best at, right? Like I said early on, event people are great at running events, understanding flow of audiences, in between rooms, and how much time do we need between things if we're switching at a big hotel, space, all those things. But they're very stressed out about the technical side of, oh man, we got to go to virtual, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to do, and I got to figure this all out. Well, I'm so glad that you and I have been able to meet and have many conversations and work together many times. And so, if like I said, I'd highly recommend reaching out to Chase if you're anywhere in Michigan or the Midwest to make your life easier, because that's what they've done for a bunch of my clients. And it's been fantastic to get to know not only you, but also Tony, the owner, and obviously all the sales staff and the team that you've put together. So I appreciate your time, Mary, and I can't wait to hear how this information is able to go help other people around the country.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Ross. This has been great.